Midnight knock, new neighbors, old secrets. The dream of a fresh start is a powerful anesthetic. It numbs the sting of past mistakes, papers over the cracks in a fragile present, and paints the future in broad, hopeful strokes. For Liam and Chloe, that fresh start was called Number 12 Sycamore Lane. It was a 2-story house with a yard that needed work and a porch that promised lazy Sunday mornings. It was more than a house, it was their fortress, built to keep the ghosts of an old life out. They had run so far for so long, and this quiet, unassuming cul-de-sac felt like the finish line. The air here was supposed to be different. Clean. Free from the metallic tang of fear that had stalked them for months. As they unpacked boxes, the real treasures they were unpacking were hope, peace, and the blissful quiet of being nobodies. They believed they had finally earned their silence. But in some places, silence is just the deep breath before a scream. The living room was an archipelago of cardboard boxes. A single lamp cast a warm, golden glow on Liam and Chloe, who sat on the floor sharing cheap champagne in mismatched mugs. They were exhausted, surrounded by the chaos of their half-unpacked lives, but they were smiling. Genuinely. To Sycamore Lane, Chloe said, raising her mug. Her eyes sparkled with a light Liam hadn't seen in a very long time. To boring neighbors, mowing the lawn on Saturdays, and to finally being home. Liam clinked his mug against hers. To no more looking over our shoulders, he added, his voice low and sincere. To leaving the past where it belongs. He leaned in and kissed her, a long, soft kiss filled with the relief of 1,000 unshed tears. For one perfect moment, the world was just the two of them, the smell of cardboard, and the taste of cheap champagne. That's when it happened. Knock. 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 It wasn't a polite rap. It was a hard, percussive sound that didn't ask for entry, it demanded it. 3 solid, evenly spaced thuds against their new front door. The sound sliced right through their peaceful bubble. They froze. Liam's hand tightened around his mug. Chloe's smile vanished. They looked at each other, the same question echoing in their wide eyes. It was past 11. They didn't know a soul in this town, let alone the neighborhood. The silence that followed was suddenly heavy, suffocating. The ghosts they thought they'd outrun weren't behind them anymore. They were at the door. Liam slowly, cautiously, set his mug on a stack of books. Every instinct screamed at him not to move, not to breathe. Years of paranoia had turned his nervous system into a finely tuned alarm, and right now, every bell was ringing. Chloe was still frozen on the floor, her face pale in the lamplight. Maybe it's just a neighbor, she whispered, the words sounding flimsy even to her. A welcome wagon? At this hour? Liam whispered back. He pushed himself to his feet, his movements stiff as he crept toward the front window. Staying to the side, he peered through a slit in the blinds. On the porch, silhouetted by the dim yellow light, stood a woman holding what looked like a pie dish. She seemed perfectly ordinary, middle-aged, with a soft, neighborly shape. But the late hour and the force of her knock made the scene feel deeply wrong, like a Norman Rockwell painting that had been subtly, terrifyingly altered. He glanced at Chloe and gave a hesitant shrug. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was just what normal life looked like. He'd almost forgotten. Taking a deep breath, he unlocked the door and opened it a few inches, leaving the security chain latched. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice tighter than he wanted. The woman smiled, a wide, bright, practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Oh, hello. So sorry to bother you so late. I saw the lights on and just couldn't wait another minute to welcome you to the neighborhood. I'm Elara, from across the street. Number 7. She held up the foil-covered dish. "Brought you a little something. Apple crumble. My own recipe." Liam was at a loss for words. The gesture was kind, the timing bizarre. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. We're Liam and Chloe." "I know," Elara said, her smile never wavering. The words hung in the air a second too long. "We're all thrilled to have you. This is a very close-knit community. We believe it's important to be good neighbors. To really look out for one another. You never know when you might need a helping hand." Her tone was syrupy sweet, but Liam felt a chill crawl up his spine. It didn't sound like a promise. It sounded like a warning. He finally undid the chain and opened the door to accept the pie. It was still warm. "Well, thank you, Elara. We appreciate it." "Not a problem at all," she chirped. "You two get some rest. Big day of unpacking tomorrow. We'll let you settle in." She turned, then paused, looking back over her shoulder. "It's a wonderful place, Sycamore Lane. So quiet. So safe. As long as everyone remembers the rules." With that, she walked back across the street and vanished into the darkness. Liam closed the door, immediately locking it and re-engaging the chain. He stood with his back against the wood, the warm pie in his hands feeling colder by the second. Chloe was now right behind him. "What did she say?" "She said welcome to the neighborhood," Liam replied, but his eyes told a much different story. The morning sun did little to burn away the night's unease. Liam and Chloe moved through the motions of unpacking, their conversation stilted. The elephant in the room was an apple crumble pie sitting untouched on their counter. Chloe, ever the optimist, tried to brush it off. "She's just a lonely, quirky neighbor," she argued, folding sweaters. "Maybe a little eccentric. In a small town, people are different. We need to try to fit in, Liam. This is our chance." "It was the way she talked," Liam said, wrestling with a flat-pack bookshelf. It was like she was reading from a script. And what did she mean, "as long as everyone remembers the rules"? "It's probably just a figure of speech. You know, don't let your dog on my lawn, don't play loud music. Normal neighborhood stuff." Liam wasn't convinced. He went outside to break down some boxes, and the feeling of being watched returned, tenfold. Across the street, a man he hadn't seen before was meticulously trimming an already perfect hedge. He was tall, with a severe, military-style haircut. He didn't look up, but Liam felt his gaze. Every time Liam moved, the snip-snip-snip of the shears would pause for a fraction of a second. He'd later learn his name was Marcus. He lived next to Elara. A few hours later, a young couple jogged past, slowing as they approached. "Hey, you're the new folks," the man called out, waving. His energy was almost frantic. The woman beside him had the same high-wattage smile as Elara. "I'm Javier, this is Sophia. Welcome. We're in number 14. Liam." "Chloe's inside," Liam said, forcing a polite nod. "Awesome. We're having a little neighborhood barbecue tonight. Super casual. Just burgers and beers. You guys should totally come. Get to meet everyone," Sophia said. "Oh, we're still buried in boxes," Liam said, hoping for an easy out. "Nonsense." Javier insisted. "Take a break. You gotta eat. Elara's making her famous potato salad. Can't miss that. Around 7. The invitation didn't feel like a request. It felt like a summons. It was clear not attending wasn't an option. Defeated, Liam agreed. As he walked back inside, he noticed something on the black sedan in Marcus's driveway. A small decal on the rear window, a stylized ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail, coiled around a single, unblinking eye. A cold dread washed over him. He'd seen that symbol before. Years ago, in a file on a computer screen he was never supposed to have accessed. The private insignia of the syndicate run by the man they had stolen from. The man they had ruined. The man they had fled. He stumbled into the house, his heart pounding. Chloe was in the kitchen, humming as she put dishes away. "They seem nice," she said. "See? I told you it would be fine." Liam stared at her, the blood draining from his face. "Chloe," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "We need to leave. Pack a bag and leave right now." Her humming stopped. "What? What are you talking about?" "The barbecue," he said, his mind racing. "We can't go. The neighbor, Marcus. He has a symbol on his car. I've seen it before. Chloe. They know. They know who we are." Her face crumpled in fear. "No. Liam, no. That's impossible. How could they possibly know? It has to be a coincidence." There are no coincidences, he snapped, the old panic making his voice sharp. Not with these people. This isn't a neighborhood, Chloe. It's a cage. Against every frantic protest, they went to the barbecue. Chloe had insisted, arguing with a desperate sort of logic that not showing up would be far more suspicious. It would prove they had something to hide. We just have to act normal, she pleaded, her voice trembling. We act normal, make small talk, and we leave. We prove we're not scared. Liam knew it was a mistake, but looking at his wife's terrified face, he couldn't force them back on the run over a single decal. He had to be sure. The party was in Alara's backyard. String lights were hung between trees, a grill sizzled merrily, and a dozen people, the entire population of Sycamore Lane, milled about on the lawn. It all looked so perfectly, painfully normal. Javier and Sophia immediately pulled them into conversation, their smiles relentless. Marcus, the silent hedge trimmer, stood by the grill, flipping burgers with a chilling efficiency, his eyes scanning the crowd. The small talk was a minefield of carefully worded questions. So, what line of work were you in before you moved here? Javier asked, handing Liam a beer. Data management, Liam answered vaguely, sticking to their cover story. For a logistics company. Fascinating, Alara said, joining them. And Chloe, you were in art curation, right? You must have an eye for valuable things. Every word felt loaded, every question a probe searching for a weak spot. Liam felt sweat trickle down his back. He scanned the other guests. They all looked pleasant, but they moved with a subtle coordination that set his teeth on edge. As Javier laughed at a joke, his sleeve rode up his arm. And there it was. Small, discreet, just above his wrist. The same tattoo. An ouroboros coiled around an eye. Liam's breath caught. He subtly glanced around. Sophia, raising her glass, the tattoo was on her ankle. An older man talking to Marcus, on the back of his neck. They all had it. They were all marked. His blood ran cold. Chloe hadn't seen it yet. She was trying so hard, laughing and nodding, playing the part of the happy new neighbor. It was a masterful performance, but Liam could see the fear in the tight clench of her hand around her cup. He knew, with a certainty that was absolute and terrifying, this wasn't just a cage. This was a tribunal. Okay, everyone. Alara called out, her voice silencing the chatter. Before we eat, I'd like to propose a toast. She beamed, holding her glass high. A special welcome. To Liam and Chloe. We are so happy you've finally arrived. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd as they all raised their glasses. Javier nudged Liam, urging him to do the same. Hesitantly, they did. We like to think of this neighborhood as a place where people can find a new beginning, Alara continued, her smile tightening. The warmth in her eyes finally died, leaving behind something as cold and hard as granite. But it's also a place for settling old debts. The air crackled. The mask of suburban pleasantry fell away from every single person in the yard. The smiles vanished, replaced by hard, knowing stares. It was like a switch had been flipped, revealing the predators beneath. To new beginnings, Alara said, her voice now a blade. And to Mr. Glass, who sends his regards. And wants what you took from him. The name hit them like a physical blow. Mr. Glass. The architect of a sprawling criminal enterprise, a man who operated from the shadows. His face they'd never seen, but his influence was a poison they'd been trying to flush from their systems for a year. He was the reason they ran. The data they had stolen, a ledger of his operations, clients and accounts, was their life insurance and their death warrant. Chloe let out a small, choked gasp, her hand flying to her mouth. The color drained from her face. Liam instinctively moved in front of her, a useless, protective gesture. Their friendly neighbors had morphed into a silent, menacing jury. I don't know what you're talking about, Liam stammered, the lie tasting like ash. Alara let out a short, humorless laugh. Oh please Liam. Let's not start our new relationship with insults. We know who you are. We know what you did. Did you really think you could just vanish? That you could steal from Mr. Glass and just start over? She took a step closer, her demeanor shifting from hostess to warden. He's a very patient man. He wanted you to have this. To feel this. The hope. The relief. He wanted you to unpack your boxes and dream about the future. He wanted you to believe you were free, right before reminding you that you never will be. Javier, his fun-loving persona gone, spoke up. This isn't just any neighborhood. It's purpose-built. A retirement village, of a sort. We all used to work for Mr. Glass. We served him well. Now, our job is to watch. This whole thing, the house, the sale, it was all a setup? Chloe asked, her voice trembling with dawning horror. A very elegant trap, don't you think? Marcus said, his voice a low rumble from behind them. He had moved from the grill without a sound. You were led here. Every online search, every real estate agent you spoke to for the last 6 months, was all gently guided right into our little web. The scale of the deception was staggering. They hadn't found a sanctuary, they had walked willingly into a prison designed just for them. Ilara's voice softened again, but it was the predatory softness of a cat toying with its prey. Mr. Glass doesn't want to hurt you. Not necessarily. He's a businessman. He simply wants his property returned. The data drive. You give it to him, and this can all be very civilized. You'll have a wonderful life here on Sycamore Lane. You'll be one of us. Safe. Protected. Watched. Forever. But if you refuse. She left the threat hanging in the air, perfectly understood. Liam looked around at the faces staring back. There was no pity. No empathy. Just the cold, patient resolve of people who were very good at their jobs. Their dream home was a cage, and their friendly neighbors were the keepers. The fresh start was over. The real nightmare had just begun. The walk back to their house was the longest 100 yards of their lives. No one followed, but they felt a dozen pairs of eyes on their backs. The moment the front door clicked shut, the illusion of home shattered. It wasn't a sanctuary, it was a holding cell. Chloe collapsed into tears, her body shaking with violent sobs. I can't do this, Liam. I can't live like this, watched and trapped. Liam, however, felt a strange, terrible clarity. The panic was still there, a cold knot in his stomach, but years on the run had forged a resilience in him. Fear was an old acquaintance. He rushed to his phone. No service. A single, mocking X, where the bars should be. They've got a jammer, he said flatly. He flipped open his laptop. The Wi-Fi icon spun endlessly. No networks found. They were cut off. An island. He began a frantic tour of the house, checking every window, every door. From the kitchen, he could see Marcus on his own porch, deliberately cleaning a long-barreled rifle. From upstairs, he saw Sophia and Javier playing catch with their kids, their laughter a surreal soundtrack to this prison. They were surrounded. The psychological torment began that night. At 2 a.m., the doorbell rang, a long, sustained chime. When Liam looked through the peephole, the porch was empty. But sitting on the doormat was a single, pristine white glove, the calling card of Mr. Glass's most feared enforcer. The next morning, Marcus called to him from across the fence. Morning, neighbor. Sleep well? He asked casually. Just so you know, the garbage trucks only come when called. And we do all the calling. Just in case you get any ideas about sending a message. Ilara would drop by with baked goods, her smile firmly back in place, offering Chloe gardening tips while casually mentioning how soundproof the houses were. You could scream your head off in there, she'd say with a laugh, and no one would hear a thing. Each interaction was a carefully crafted piece of psychological warfare, designed to strip away their hope. Days bled into one another. Liam and Chloe barely spoke, crushed by the weight of their situation. Liam was constantly scanning for an escape, a weakness. Chloe seemed to be retreating inward, growing more withdrawn. Liam was terrified she was breaking. One evening, a week into their captivity, Ilara knocked again. Liam opened the door to find her holding a tablet. On the screen was a live feed of a frail, elderly woman in a nursing home. Your mother, isn't she, Chloe? Ilara asked softly, showing the tablet to Chloe. "Lovely woman. We had a nice chat with her caretakers. It would be a shame if her quality of life were to decline. Accidents happen." That was the turning point. The look in Chloe's eyes changed. The fear was still there, but something else was hardening behind it. Her hope burned away, replaced by a cold, sharp fury. "Where is it, Liam?" she asked him later that night, her voice devoid of emotion. "The drive. Where did you hide it?" "In the heel of my old work boot, in the closet." "Why?" "Because," she said, turning to face him, her eyes glittering with a chilling intensity he'd never seen before. "They think they've given us two choices: surrender and live in this cage forever, or die. They're wrong. There's a third option. We fight back." The decision to fight transformed the house. The oppressive despair was replaced by a tense, electric energy. They were no longer victims waiting for the end, they were tacticians planning a breakout. "They're coordinated," Liam said, pacing the living room, their new command center. "But they're arrogant. They think they've won. They expect us to break. They don't expect a real fight." "Their greatest strength is their surveillance," Chloe added, her voice sharp and focused. The soft, hopeful woman was gone, replaced by someone pragmatic and ruthless. "They watch the outside. The doors, the windows. So, we don't fight them on the outside. We make them come inside. On our terms." Their plan was a high-stakes gamble. The goal wasn't to win, but to create enough chaos for Chloe to get to the junction box on the side of the house and disable their signal jammer. If they could get one call out, they might have a chance. They spent the next day preparing. They boiled water on the stove. They loosened the screws on a heavy bookshelf, balancing it precariously. They moved furniture to create choke points. Every domestic object became a potential weapon. That evening, Liam walked to the front window, made a show of looking out, and then picked up his phone pretending to make a call. A blatant piece of theater. As expected, the response was immediate. The front door splintered open. Marcus came through first, weapon raised, followed by Javier. "Bad move, Liam," Javier sneered. That was the signal. From the top of the stairs, Chloe tipped over a bucket of soapy water. It cascaded down the wooden steps. Javier slipped, his feet flying out from under him with a yelp as he crashed to the floor. Marcus, more disciplined, sidestepped the water, eyes fixed on Liam. As he advanced, Liam kicked the leg of a table, sending heavy books tumbling, forcing Marcus to break his stride. In that instant, Liam bolted for the kitchen. The house erupted into chaos. Marcus chased Liam, who tipped a pot of boiling water from the stove. Marcus dodged with a curse. While the commotion was at the front of the house, Chloe slipped out the back door, crowbar in hand, sprinting toward the electrical box. Liam's job was to create noise. He led Marcus on a chase, overturning furniture, breaking lamps. He could hear shouting from outside as other neighbors converged on the house. He was running out of time and room. He backed into the living room, and the game was up. Marcus stood in the kitchen doorway. Through the open front door, Elara entered, a small, deadly pistol in her hand. Her face was a mask of cold fury. "That was a very stupid, messy plan," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "All this for nothing. Now it's over." Marcus moved to flank him. Liam was cornered, breathing heavily. He had failed. "The drive, Liam," Elara commanded, raising her pistol. "Tell me where it is. Right now. Or Marcus will end this." Liam looked from the gun to the cold eyes of the man beside her. This was it. He opened his mouth, ready to sacrifice everything for a few more seconds of life. But before a word came out, a calm, clear voice cut through the tension. "He doesn't know where it is." Everyone turned. Chloe stood in the hallway. She wasn't holding a crowbar. She was holding a professional-looking handgun with a familiarity that was utterly terrifying. And she was aiming it directly at Elara's head. A stunned silence fell. Elara and Marcus stared at Chloe, struggling to process what they were seeing. Liam was just as shocked. He'd never seen that gun before. He didn't even know Chloe knew how to handle one. "Chloe?" Elara stammered, her composure finally cracking. What is this? Did you find one of Liam's toys? Chloe let out a small, dry laugh, a sound colder than a winter grave. Liam doesn't have any toys, she said, her voice dangerously level. He's a data analyst. A brilliant one. But he's not a killer. He's the money. I'm the management. Liam stared at her, a whirlwind of terrifying understanding swirling in his mind. The meek, hopeful partner he was trying to protect was a complete fabrication. The problem, Elara, Chloe continued, taking a slow step into the living room, is that your information is out of date. You work for Mr. Glass. But you seem to be under the impression that Mr. Glass is still alive. The color drained from Elara's face. What are you saying? The original Mr. Glass had a flaw, Chloe explained conversationally. He grew sentimental. He started keeping records, names, faces, liabilities. So, about a year ago, we removed him from the equation. A hostile takeover. Liam and I, we are Mr. Glass now. The truth landed with the force of a bomb. The flight, the fear, the fresh start, it was all a lie. But not the lie they thought. Their secret wasn't that they had stolen from a crime boss. It was that they had become the crime boss. This, Chloe said, gesturing around the living room, wasn't a prison for us. It was an audit for you. We inherited a large organization, and we had to know who was loyal and who was just a remnant of the old guard. Who we could trust. And who needed to be downsized. She looked from Elara to Marcus, then to Javier, who was limping into the room, his face a mask of disbelief. You all failed. You showed your hand. You were far too willing to threaten your new boss. Liam was speechless. He looked at the woman he thought he knew and saw a complete stranger. A brilliant, terrifying stranger who had been playing a game so complex he hadn't even realized he was a piece on the board. He wasn't her partner in escape, he was her asset. Her cover. Elara raised her pistol, her hand trembling. You're lying. Chloe's response was instantaneous. A single, deafening crack echoed through the house. Elara crumpled to the floor, a small, dark hole in the center of her forehead. Marcus and Javier stared in horror, frozen. Chloe didn't flinch. She simply adjusted her aim towards Marcus. Any other questions about my management style? She asked softly. Or shall we just get on with the rest of the performance review? Welcome to the Real Neighborhood Watch.